G'day everybody, welcome back to In My Shed. I'm BC. A little bit of an unusual episode this, I should call it Fall on My Sword. I've been prattling on about my wonderful high-speed steel for so long and it failed on me yesterday. So long story short, back on this horrible bit of rail for an anvil, and it's probably the best visual description of not lamination but effects of working steel. I would say it's quenched at some stage of the rolling process and it's developed an extremely hard area on the top here and right at that edge there. So much so the tool would just do one pass, get towards the end and actually ride up above the material and then go down into the towards the web there. The other side machine perfect. I had no trouble whatsoever getting the job done. And I fully expected to not even have to sharpen the tool for this side. I got the head of the rail done, but it wasn't a really good job and the surface finish is damn awful, but I just couldn't get this to complete. Just there you still see a few of the lumps, and surprisingly after I finished machining it and there was quite a ridge along there, I took a big old fat coal chisel and hammer to it and it just peeled off with the chisel quite easily. So it's very, very fractured along the top there, and I was scratching my head. I wanted to get this job out of the shaper in case I want to use it for something else. And I was rummaging through trying to find an indexable insert tool, but I don't think any of those would actually do the job. So came across this very old brazed tool, and it's a whopper. It's a right hand turning tool. It's 1.5 inch, or was 1.5 inch across the both ways on the shank. I machined it down so it would fit in the lathe Mazak 8, and I thought, bloody hell, it might just fit in this tool holder, and it really does. I was quite surprised. Down to it there it fits in. However, the blank is being presented at 90 degrees to the way it should be to the work. In desperation I thought, bugger it, I'll kick the old shaper in the belly and do a pass with it, and it worked. It did a reasonably good job. There's a bright shiny surface across here that's really good. Then it came across this hard spot, and even with this big tool, and it's a very rigid shaper, it weighs just over a ton. I just rode up over to work and then down the other side. So I'll show you a bit about the tooling, then we'll give it a run, see if we can take another millimetre off, just for a bit of explanation. Now that's the M35 high-speed steel, Chinese cobalt steel. I reground it 3 times yesterday, and I'll just confirm again, it's as hard as the hobs of hell and reasonably tough to put up with this job. It just loses a little bit on the tip. It just isn't rugged enough for this side of the workpiece. So I'll put that away for a bit of a archive story some other time, and I'll stop gas bagging, bring you in, and we'll run the shaper. But it'll be just a bit of gooey goop on there. We'll make one pass and I'll give you a bit of a close-up of the tool and why I think it's a bit of an unusual one. Back soon. Okay guys, you're a little bit closer in. You can see that the blank is orientated. It should be cutting on that side, not this side. It still does a fantastic job. It's had a bit of a rough life before I got it, but I think it's only been used a few times. I've gone down nearly a millimetre. I'll run the machine now, put the power feed on, and you'll see the finish that comes up here is quite good. I'm quite surprised with it, but you'll find out that when it gets to that point there, it'll just ride up over to work. Now I've put some cutting compound on there, and I'm a big believer, not just in being a mean bastard, but you don't pour cutting oil or cutting grease or compound on there and smother the world. It's just not necessary. It's called a thin film lubrication. If you're using water soluble, sure, the water does the cooling, not the oil, and in this case the more you put on, you provide very, very little coolant. It's only there to lubricate. Righto, make some noise and put the clutch in. Okay, she's just starting to lift a little bit off the workpiece now. And when I put this carbide tool in, I cranked it up from 24 cycles per minute to 42. So it's zipping through to work quite quickly. And throwing swarf around just like a good shaper should. I'll also say that there's still the same machine noise, but there's very little tooling noise now. Whereas with the high-speed steel you could hear it graunching its way through the job. I actually got my dust brush smoking yesterday. I left it in the swarf pan and a lot of blue chips. Almost set it alight again. We're getting up to the hard part now. Yeah, a bit of noise coming out. And that's it, yep, clunk. Okay, I'll get the camera zoomed in a little bit more. It's only raised a little bit on the edge, but at least you're able to see a bit of a trace of what I was talking about. Zoom you in a sec. Okay guys, back again, trying to get a reasonable close-up of the material, and I can't get what I would like. It's not focusing as good, but at least you can pick up what I'm talking about. You can see on the previous effort, the surface shows a whole lot of chatter and a lot of vibration being put out by the work. That was the hard edge there, and even with it zoomed right in, you can just pick up this little bit of the hard stuff along the edge. And once again you heard it, the carbide was just riding up over it and down the other side. So the top of the rail head and the top of this flange was quenched by some part of the operation, or rolled at not a sufficient temperature to make it reasonably easy. But look at the crap that's peeling up off it. That's what it's like. So yeah, poor old high-speed steel had no hope in hell of doing the job. I think I'll be able to get a few more runs in, and hopefully the carbide won't expire. So I hope this keeps you entertained, and tomorrow I'll add a bit of footage on the frames of the loco. Bye for now. I brought you back in for another look. I was trying to take a few more passes to get the job a bit further along and had to stop. The poor old shaper, even with the big dinosaur tool in there, was just shaking like hell. And you can see at the top of the flange, that's the rugged part of the material where the tool was just climbing up over the workpiece and not penetrating. I also found another layer about halfway through that was also very, very hard, and the shaper sort of grumbled. I had to back the depth of cut off. I was only taking 1 millimetre, and I had to go down to 0.5 millimetre to get it to penetrate, but looks like that's about as far as it's going to be tapered. Okay, back again. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. G'day again guys, back in the shed. I thought I'd put a little bit of an added extra to yesterday's video on this dinosaur of a tool bit. I had a request a while ago that I didn't complete because I'd taken the shaper out of action for a while. A fellow wanted to see the clapper retract mechanism, and I had it in earlier videos, and that's where I directed him, and now I do have the time and the opportunity to go for a run through it. There are a couple of automatic items on this shaper. The first is automatic down feed. That's just casting on the side, tripped by a block there. It's quite a reasonable item to use, I suppose, but one of the little internal controls is broken off the top. Probably got tied onto with a bit of rope by transport fella, but not to worry. I have seen a earlier book by Bradley, I think it was, but I found to put a mechanic's ratchet up on top, and he used that to operate from a mechanism at the back. I thought that was quite smart. But anyway, I'll swing you around, give you a look at the clapper retract mechanism, and then I'll turn the machine on and give you a bit of video of it. Okay, here we are at the side of the CMZ L450 shaper, 1976 model I think, made in Spain. It's a reasonable build, built to a price, but it does everything I want in a shaper. I definitely don't want one of those giant Cincinnati 40-inch machines. God, it'd be like driving a bloody bulldozer inside your shed. I'll go and point a finger at some of the workings. The front bracket is quite well made. It's just a bit of strap bent up at the end, 2 socketed cap screws into the clapper box. Quite sturdy. Got a fastener ball end or something similar at both ends of the rod. The only real proprietary part is this bit here, which is a casting. That's a pressure on a spring, and it's got like a ball joint inside there that is locked by this item here, and it's got a stop. All of that is, in my opinion, well and truly overthought. They had a good draftsman in the engineering department. You don't need to go that far. That could just be a plain bush fabricated up with a bit of steel, a bearing on it, and a stop. Do you need it? I don't know. The only drawback with this particular item is if you tilt the tool head more than about 15 degrees either way, it just negates the clapper operation. The ball ends jam up and it doesn't run properly. But overall it's been a good operator for me. It's got a friction pad at the bottom there that slides on a stainless steel strip along the top of the main frame, and that does come to grief. If I turn the oiler up where I'd like it to be for all the sliding parts, it gets oil up on the friction strip, and it's already got oil up there now. The friction strip is just drilled and countersunk screws down into the frame to hold it there. Now, it wouldn't take too much to manufacture something like this. It's a dead simple machine, and it does make it very good in as much as you can use a bigger tool. With something this big and heavy in the toolbox without that manual retract, I don't know just how well the retract would work. So yeah, it allows you to put some heavy stuff in there. Is that a benefit? Well, I don't know. Right, I'll crank it over, get the thing working, and I'll leave you zoomed in for a couple of seconds while it's running, and then I'll take the zoom out and you'll get a better idea of it clacking away there. Okay, make a bit of noise. Just run around a little bit there. That's a good idea of it. I'm surprised that I hadn't started the slip, because we do have a fair bit of lubricating oil up on top of that rubbing strip, but no, it works reasonably well. Happy with the way it goes. Okay, that's all from me for today. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and see you in the next video.